Hi everyone, my name's Gups. Just think of a cup, instead of putting a C at the start, put a G at the start, and I'm the host and founder of CoSign Podcast. It's been a long time coming, we're finally here, and you're listening to the first of 3 podcasts that I'll be releasing in the next couple of weeks as part of my new Versus series. And today's podcast is called Yesterday versus Today. Now, to begin with, a lot of negative and skeptical people always come up to me and say it's very difficult for you to find work or for you to develop your career in today's UK economy. This is mainly based upon their perception and past experience that they've had. My job is to provide you guys, the listeners, with a fresh perspective, which hopefully inspires and motivates you to achieve your goals and for you to reach your full potential. What I'd like to do in today's podcast is draw upon some past experiences that I've had in my personal life and talk about some of the changes that I've noticed that have taken place, especially from when I first applied for my very first job 10 to 15 years ago up until today, where I actually help others find work and develop their career in my day-to-day job role. In turn, what I hope it does for you guys, the listeners, is provide you with an awareness of why things are the way they are, and most importantly, it provides you with the tools that you need that are like stepping stones to get you to where you need to be in life. So let's go for it. Number 1, 10 to 15 years ago, there were a lot more jobs available than there were people actually applying for work. Today, there's a lot more people applying for work than there are jobs available, which initially means it's a lot more competitive when it comes to you applying for work in today's UK economy. Number 2, it was a lot simplistic for you to apply for work 10 to 15 years ago. What I mean by that is all you really had to do was create a CV for yourself, hand it into a potential employer, possibly accompanied with a covering letter if you had one. If they liked the look of your CV and your covering letter, they'd call you in for an interview, and if you did well on the interview, they'd offer you the job and you could start working your way up that career ladder. Today, it's very rare that a potential employer will accept a CV or a covering letter given to them by hand. What they request from a potential candidate is for you to go online, complete any online application forms and any online assessment tests that they may have. Once you get to the interview process, you may have to complete even more interview assessment tests or go through a number of different interview stages before you're offered that job, and then you can start working your way up that career ladder. So it definitely seems like in today's economy, it's a lot more challenging. There's a lot more hurdles and obstacles that you need to overcome before you can get to where you need to be. Additional factors such as the UK economy going through a recession approximately around 10 years ago resulted in a number of businesses closing down and other businesses becoming a lot more smarter and wiser in how they spent their money, time and resources, especially around recruitment, whether it's job advertisement, the application process or the interview process. It's cost effective and better value for money for a potential employer to advertise online and let the internet do the shortlisting process, or a third party company do the shortlisting process for them, and all they have to do is interview the potential candidates and offer the job to the ideal candidate, rather than before where they had to take a massive chunk of time out of their own day to filter through each application that they were getting, decide which one were good applications, decide which ones were bad applications, and then call each respective candidate and tell them whether they've been successful or unsuccessful in getting to that interview stage, and then obviously going through the interview stage and hiring their ideal candidate. Now, for you, the person applying for the job, what can you do to give yourself a better chance of making sure you get the job that you're after, or for you to develop the career that you're after? Well, there's a number of different things that I'd recommend. I'm going to go through a couple of them today. First things first, always remember that just like your CV and your covering letter was 10-15 years ago, your application is the first impression that you'll potentially have with any new employer who you're applying to work for. They've never met you, they've never seen you, they've never spoken to you. So this is the first opportunity that they're going to get to see who you really are. Make sure things like your spelling and your grammar are on point. Don't lose out on schoolboy errors and fail to get to that interview stage because you've made a couple of spelling mistakes and errors in your grammar on the application form. Also, make sure you give a lot of detailed information. Sometimes what we tend to do is assume that the potential employer will know what we're on about, so give very brief bits of information. when what we should be doing is providing detailed information with examples to back that information up, that show the potential employer of who we are and what we could potentially offer them. Another thing that I'd recommend to you guys is look for work experience and voluntary work opportunities. I know sometimes it can be very demoralizing when job opportunities aren't available. However, there may be work experience or voluntary work that you could do, which gives you the opportunity to see what the organisation's like and see what the job role's like. However, the flip side of that is it gives the potential employer to see what you're like and if you're suitable for that particular job role. So if an opportunity does come up, rather than them having to spend all that time, money and resource in going through the recruitment process, they may look at you and offer you the job opportunity as you're already doing work experience or voluntary work there. And final thing I'll say to you is, I know earlier on I said it's very rare that a potential employer may accept CV and covering letters these days. However, there are still the odd potential employer that do advertise in the shop windows and ask for a CV or a covering letter to be handed into a member of staff or a member of management in the shop. If that's the case and these are the jobs that you're thinking of applying for, keep in mind once again this is your first impression. Make sure your CV and your covering letter is professional, it's formal, the format and the structure is consistent and right, and most importantly make sure that it's tailored to who you are and the job that you're applying for, so the potential employer can see why you'd be an ideal candidate for the job role that's available. And I think the last thing that I want to say to anyone applying for jobs is just be patient. Keep in mind a number of these potential jobs that you're applying for do have closing dates attached to them, so just because you apply for the job on the 1st of the month doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to hear back straight away, especially if the deadline isn't until the end of the month. Sometimes you do need to be patient, you do need to persevere, and hopefully over time what you'll realise is you'll start getting feedback or potential opportunities at job interviews or jobs themselves, whether it be a part-time or a full-time job, and then you've got a good headache where you can decide what you want to do and where you see your future lying. Well, I hope this podcast has been informative. I hope it's provided you guys with a fresh perspective of why things are the way they are, and most importantly it's giving you a better idea what you can do to get to where you need to be. Until the next podcast, I hope you have a good day, have a good weekend and have a good Easter. Take care, peace out.